In the headlines, bandits invade Kaduna village, kill 1, abduct 3. Flood sacks 13 Anambra communities, renders 300 families homeless. Dollar hits 735 naira as political campaign begins. And on the foreign scene, Myanmar deposed leader Aung San Suu Kyi and Australian economic advisor jailed. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Hello and welcome once again. We begin in Zaria, where gunmen on Wednesday night invaded the Wusasa area, killing 1 person and abducting 3 others. The village head of Wusasa, Isiaku Yusuf, said the bandits came in numbers and attacked the residence of Dr. Oderindi, a resident of Wusasa Central area. He gave the name of the person they killed as Oluwakemi Oluwatosin and those abducted as Douglas Silas, Treasurer Johanna, Victor, and the son of the landlord, Precious Oderindi. The village head said he alerted the police and members of the village vigilante group who arrived at the scene after the bandits had gone. Meanwhile, gunmen have killed at least 5 soldiers in Umunzi, a community in Orumba South local government area of Anambra State. The incident reportedly occurred on Wednesday at about 12:30 p.m. beside a Zenith Bank branch close to the popular Unko Umunze market in the area. The gunmen were said to have opened fire on the soldiers who were at an army-marked Sienna patrol vehicle, killing 5 of them in the attack. The military is yet to respond to the attack as of the time of this report. Meanwhile, Governor Charles Soludo, in a statement by spokesperson Christian Aborime, condemned the attack and said the perpetrators must pay, as the government is working to apprehend them. The governor urged Anambra residents to remain calm and law-abiding as the security agencies are on top of the situation. And the Lagos police say the command is investigating 3 suspects arrested with live cartridges on their way to Katsina State. According to State Police Public Relations Officer SP Benjamin Hundeyin, the suspects were intercepted with 2 commercial buses loaded with an unspecified number of live cartridges, 3 dismantled motorcycles and phones, among other items. Abbas Dalibi reports.
The state police spokesperson Benjamin Hundeyin told Trust TV that, with the support of some members of the community, the operatives of the Ikorodu division of the Lagos State Police Command intercept 2 commercial buses loaded with large quantity of live cartridges, and 3 suspects were arrested. He said the police is working with the members of the community to checkmate any illegal activity going on within the communities.
The Divisional Police Officer in that area quickly mobilized his men to that place where they found 3 men loading a vehicle with live ammunition and several rounds of live ammunition, 3 dismantled motorcycles. So they were promptly arrested and taken to the police station first. But because of the sensitivity around it, we had to move them to the headquarters. And as I speak to you now, they are at the State Criminal Investigation Department.
The President, Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria, Musa Metakobi, who is also the Lagos State Chairman of the association, disclosed that the buses and the suspect were not arrested at the designated car park in Lagos. Then called on passengers to desist from going to undesignated motor parks for their own safety.
I'm drawing the attention of all the passengers, that is commuters, always before you board any motor, you make sure you went to the garage where been designed by the government. So if there is anything, the government will follow it up to know where even the vehicle take up.
However, Ado Dansudu, one of the leaders of Arewa community in Lagos, spoke on the importance of working together in the fight against the proliferation of illegal firearms into the country.
I don't see the reason why you will supply something which maybe your father or your mother or your brother can be kidnapped or can be killed by what you supply. So people doesn't think what is going to happen to them. They don't think what is going to happen to their parents or their brothers or their fathers, even their relatives.
They said security is everybody's business. Therefore, for a sustainable security posture in the country, the mindset of people must be reshaped. Abbas Ibrahim Alibi, Trust TV, Lagos.
13 communities in Ugbaru local government area of Anambra State have been submerged by flood, with over 300 families rendered homeless. Schools, churches, markets, farmlands and residential houses in the communities were submerged, while some of the residents had relocated to neighboring communities. Community leaders said there was a need to find a permanent solution to the recurring flood problem, as the flooding has brought untold hardship to many families. The Anambra State Commissioner for Environment, Felix Odumegu, said the state government had commenced inspection of the affected communities, noting that camps would be established for the victims. He also said that medical teams have been deployed to the affected communities to assist the victims. Meanwhile, the Delta State government has commenced moves to evacuate residents across the state who have been displaced by this year's flood to internally displaced persons camps. The Director General of the Delta State Orientation Bureau, Eugene Uzum, disclosed this during a sensitization exercise at the Oko area of the state. The report.
The sensitization, according to the DG, is part of efforts to cushion the effect of the flood on victims by informing them of the government's plans. Uzum and his team are assuring the victims, most of them homeless, of relief and safety till the area becomes habitable.
The government of Senator Fire to Okowa committee, led by the Secretary to the State Government, don't they put the camp together now? Inside that camp, hospital dey. Inside that camp, school dey for inside. Inside that camp, una go fit dey do una church activity. When we don enumerate una finish, carry una comot from this place. For inside that camp, then go dey feed una.
The permanent secretary of the Bureau, Stella McCurley, on her part, disclosed the challenges being faced during evacuation.
We've had a situation where we got to a community and we were turned back. They said their gods were angry. We now had to explain what the problem is. And at the end of the day, they accepted our message, and we also told them in turn that they had to leave. In fact, they had to harvest their crops early enough so that it's not total devastation.
The internally displaced persons who recounted their losses called for urgent intervention from the government.
It's very many things for us. So just keep us for everybody. But our house inside, everything is spoiled. Both farm, everything. So we don't have anything like that. That's why we are this place.
This environment, my children now, not get anywhere to stay. I too now hungry, they catch me, as you see me so. I get belly. Now, my house, I never figure water they reach me here. Now, I need help.
Last year we were very, very full. But this year it's too much. So nowhere to go. Make us to come upland to stay.
The displaced persons are hopeful that with government intervention in the pipeline, they would be able to stand again.
And still on the environment, at least 3 persons have been killed and over 500 rendered homeless as the River Benue overflowed its banks and flooded Ibaji local government area of Kogi State. The lawmaker representing the Ibaji constituency in the Kogi State House of Assembly, Honorable Atule Egbunu, confirmed this in Lokoja in an interview on Wednesday night. According to Egbunu, thousands of houses and farmlands have been flooded, an incident he described as an unfortunate annual disaster, saying that it had become difficult to relocate the victims to a safer place. The lawmaker appealed to the state and federal governments as well as the international community to come to the aid of his people. And as campaigns for the 2023 election kicked off, the Plateau Police Command has begun deployment of police officers to passive flashpoints in the state. The State Commissioner for Police, Bartholomew Onyeka, made this known on Wednesday during a stakeholders meeting in the state with heads of security agencies, political parties, as well as the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Ado Musa completes the story.
According to the commissioner, One of the reasons for the engagement was to ensure that the upcoming general elections were peacefully conducted. It is also an avenue to provide stakeholders with a unique opportunity to dissect the current laws enforcement realities and engage an all-inclusive approach to re-evaluate security policing strategies.
As the countdown to the political campaigns draws near, the Plateau State Police Command has put in place robust security arrangements and measures to ensure that adequate security and safety for electionary campaigns and rallies throughout the state. The police command is poised to protect and safeguard all venues of campaigns and rallies, as well as other INEC-approved electionary activities, and all political parties throughout the state from now to the end of the campaign period for the 2023 general election.
He said all unofficial security formations, such as vigilantes, neighborhood watches, among others, should not in any way carry out security functions during the elections, as they do not have the legal mandate under the current INEC laws.
The Inspector General of Police, IGP Osman Akali Baba, PAC Dagat, NPM FDC, has equally echoed it loudly that during the electionary periods, all local security head groups, such as the Vigilantes, Hunters Association, Neighborhood Watch, or any other Kwashi state organs, have no legal role to play in the electoral process and are therefore prohibited from taking part in any electoral process before, during, and as well as after the aforementioned political activities.
The representative of Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, Father Polycarp Lubo, at the event, assured the support of religious leaders toward hitch-free elections.
To speak to our people to know abiding, to play the rule by the game. To play the game by the rule. And I'm sure that's exactly what we will do. Same thing like the man from the orientation agency. But you will have to caution here, sir.
It is, however, hoped that stakeholders will do their part in ensuring a smooth conduct of the election. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
And still talking politics, presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, says the ruling APC government has lost the essence of governance for its failure to secure Nigerians, pledging that his party will rescue the country. The former vice president, who made the remark at the inauguration of the party's Presidential Campaign Council and book launch in Abuja, also called on his compatriots to join him in the struggle. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman reports.
It was a two-in-one event meant to capture the life and times, legal battles, disposition or restructuring of the PDP presidential candidate coming on the sidelines of the inauguration of the party's campaign council.
There is no other better time than now for Nigerians to know about you.
But beyond these formalities, the PDP is kickstarting its presidential campaign anchored on the premise of rescuing Nigeria, a country the party governed for 16 years until the electorate voted it out in 2015.
All of us are going to hit the ground running, and we shall work collectively as a family and expeditiously to ensure the victory of our party.
To build a strong and effective democratic government where the safety and security of our people and their property is our primary and singularly most important responsibility.
The event also exposed the deepening acrimony that led to the pullout of some critical stakeholders, including a vice chairman south of the party's campaign council and Governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde. Their strategic absence could be seen as a setback to the relentless efforts of the party's presidential flag bearer to pacify the aggrieved members. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, members of the Labour Party on Wednesday kicked off their campaign ahead of the 2023 general election with a mega rally in Jos, the Plateau State capital. Peter Obi and Tibab Ahmed, the party's presidential and vice presidential candidates, and other party stakeholders were present.
Everybody is saying he doesn't have striker. Who are you? You are a striker.
You're watching Trust TV News Update. And still ahead on the news. Building capacity of women to promote national development. Details of this and more after the break. Please stay with us.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Update. Now let's recap our top stories. Bandits invade Kaduna village, kill 1, abduct 3. And flood sacks 13 Anambra communities, renders 300 families homeless. Moving on to other news now. The federal government has declared Monday as a public holiday to mark the nation's 62nd independence anniversary celebration. Minister of Interior Rauf Aregbesola, who made the declaration on behalf of the federal government, congratulates all Nigerians on the celebration and assured of government's commitment to tackling all the challenges facing the nation and bring smiles to the faces of all people. In a statement signed by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Interior, Shuaib Balgouri, the minister urged Nigerians to use the occasion to reflect on the challenges facing the nation and the role individuals can play in addressing them. The minister charged Nigerians to work hard, shun any attraction to get rich through criminal and other immoral means, saying only through productivity can an individual and the nation create wealth and get rich. Now, commitment towards ensuring investment in women and youth population for improved participation in nation building remains the responsibility of government and development partners. Trust TV's Aisha Salihu was at a forum where this was placed at the front burner in order to promote national development. Her report.
A nation's youth and women population would contribute more to its social, economic and political stability when their capacities are harnessed through integration. This fact is not lost on the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development as it is working with the Development Research and Project Center to achieve the goal.
Our women's better equipped, better involved, especially in the participation in the social, political and economic activities in Nigeria towards the nation building. We want to see the women step up the more. Participation. All we're talking about is about participation. If you stay back in the confines of your sitting room, your bedroom, nobody will come for you. So you have to step out to make the voices heard.
We hope to increase the capacity of women's associations on advocacy and communication as well as strategic leadership, because we think these women are pivotal to the push for increasing salience for women's economic empowerment and then advancing Nigeria into economic development. We know from watching what happens in other countries that have practiced women's economic empowerment that this is a sure way of getting the country from where we currently are to economic development.
Development partners believe that the initiative will better equip women to access funds to implement projects that would improve them economically, cater to their leadership roles, planning and management, among others.
It's actually important for us to be able to know how to go about grant writing, for you to actually know the first steps of it, understanding why you're doing that grant writing, especially understanding why you're writing a proposal, the whole idea of you not just writing a grant proposal, but having to know what to do with that grant when it comes in, the idea and the purpose and the end goal of it. So it's actually going to help us as well to be able to know how to go about these things, because at the end of the day, when you get these grants, it's actually it helps to enhance the society.
The process is to provide them with capacity to be able to apply for funding, either from donors or from the government, to be able to continue to exist and function and do the good work that they're doing in this space. For us, we want to see a developed third sector, which is the civil society space. And we think one of the ways to make civil society more prominent is to be able to build their capacity to be able to access funding.
Empowerment of women and youth is a necessity for the development of a society, since it enhances both the quality and the quantity of human resources available for national development. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, a new report by the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has revealed how communities in the Niger Delta area continue to live in depressing and deplorable conditions, even though the wealth derived from these areas is the economic mainstay of the country. According to the report, the communities in the Niger Delta remain the poorest in the country. The 82-page report launched in Lagos posits that lack of transparency and accountability is fueling human rights violations in the oil-rich region. The report, presented to the media by Dr. Olubimi Afinowi, Faculty of Law of the University of Lagos, discloses that the region remains deeply in the grips of squalor, poverty and environmental degradation. The report, however, highlights how endemic corruption contributed to poverty and consequential suffering of many people in the Niger Delta.
For calling on the government without any further delay to inaugurate the board of the Niger Delta. Secondly, the government must release a report of the forensic auditor so that projects that are abandoned can be taken up by the communities affected in the Niger Delta. Roads have been abandoned, schools have been abandoned, electricity projects have been abandoned. We want to know who has taken money, billions of naira.
SERAP did not do a report on oil theft in the Niger Delta. The research and the report that we have done, including this one, is on the socioeconomic rights of members of the oil-producing communities. And now lack of transparency and accountability have not allowed those funds released to these MDAs to impact on the lives of the people.
We see a lot of security around there, and yet oil is being stolen every day. It is only in Nigerian state that we don't know what we produce. Why? What are the agencies doing? Like I said, we look into government's eye and speak truth to government.
And following the announcement by the Central Bank of Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee on the increase of the benchmark interest rate by 150 basis points, the CBN on Wednesday held a post-MPC explainer just to justify the committee's decision. Now, according to the MPC, the measures were as a result of aggressive inflation. Chamun Dabeng reports.
The final decision of the MPC to raise the MPR by 150 basis points and the CRR by 500 basis points has sparked not only reactions but worries amongst Nigerians, sparking many questions on its impact on loan rates, MSMEs and ultimately the Nigerian economy as a whole. Director Bank Supervision Mustafa Haruna stated that the rates will inevitably go up, adding, however, that there would be a trade-off.
There is going to be a trade-off. The customers of banks, have, their loans, even though at a very high cost, but at least it is not going to be too significant that will really impact their own bottom line as well. But ultimately, what we are expecting to see, like I said, is to rein inflation, and the banking system is a veritable channel for the transmission of monetary policy.
Part of the decisions of the MPC was to halt intervention funding and only support critical sectors effective Tuesday.
To make sure that the monetary policy tool that has been deployed is very effective, you definitely need to constrain the money supply. So indeed, we've closed the gates. Only interventions that are very, very critical. MSMEs that are statutory. We take 5% of every bank's profit after tax. Indeed, it's not a lot to deploy to SMEs. And then supporting the electricity sector is very, very critical.
With the scarcity of foreign exchange within the nation triggering issues in several sectors of the economy, the Director of Foreign Exchange, Ozomena Inaji, unveiled plans by the CBN to ramp up supply.
Still talking about the economy, the dollar hit 735 naira in the parallel market on Wednesday as political campaign activities began in the country. According to Bureau de Change operators in Lagos and Abuja, dollar price had increased from 718 naira to 728 naira to 735 naira in the last 1 week. Speaking on major factors responsible for the rate hikes in dollar to naira, the Vice President, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Gabriel Idahosa, said the immediate cause of the dollar rate increment was as the new policy rate of the Central Bank of Nigeria. According to Idahosa, the commencement of means a lot of funds had started pouring into the campaign-related activities. And now for a look at the foreign scene, where Myanmar's elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi has been found guilty of breaching the country's Official Secrets Act by a secretive military court. The latest in a string of convictions brought by the generals who removed her from office in a coup last year. Reports say Suu Kyi was given a 3-year sentence on Thursday. The official said her economic advisor, Sean Turnell, was also found guilty and sentenced to 3 years in jail. And that wraps up Trust TV News Update for this hour. For more news, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.